Before you move into that, would you let people watching this know who Rudolf Hess was?
Oh, Rudolf Hess was the Vice Chancellor of Germany at the beginning of World War II. Hitler's second in command, original party member from the Munich beer hall push and all that. Went to prison with Hitler in the 20s, and he thought that he could bring England into the war on the side of Germany against Russia. So he parachuted into England. He stole a plane and flew to England in 1940, parachuted into England and was captured by an English farmer with a pitchfork. And he remained in English prison until the war was over, and he stood trial at Nuremberg. He's a pretty important guy. A lot of controversy about was it really him, was it a double, never really proven, but those kinds of theories always surface. He had a single cell for the first 20 years of his imprisonment, which lasted 41 years. And when all the other prisoners left, they opened up so he had two cells as his. So you had this cycle of the Russians, the Americans taking the guard from the Russians, the British taking it from the Americans, the French taking it from the British, and then back to the Russians. And this cycle of every 4 months, so 3 times a year, the Americans had Spandau Guard, it was called. It was a big deal politically. It was a big deal from the media standpoint in the divided city, because just the way they set up the cycle, the Americans always took the guard from the Russians. So it was a big event. When I was assigned to be officer of guard, the traditional process was a composite platoon was selected from the battalion of the most highly decorated enlisted men in the battalion, and a second lieutenant as the officer of guard. So in my case, the platoon sergeant was Delbert O. Jennings, who had the Congressional Medal of Honor, and he had been my platoon sergeant when I was in C Company of the battalion, and all the other members of the platoon were Vietnam veterans with chests full of medals. I had 2 medals. I'm in Berlin and I'm in the Army, were my 2 medals. So we rehearsed for a month this changing of the guard ceremony. We had a sergeant first class named Buchanan, who had been in the old guard in Washington. So he knew all the tricks of a soldier on parade. How to hold your hands, how to hold your rifle, everything you needed to. We were sharp. The day came for the actual changing of the guard, and it was a typical Berlin day, cold, clammy, damp, snowing. We stood outside the main gate of Spandau Prison, waiting for the Russians to show up. Because what the Russians always did was they brought their honor guard in from Moscow. They flew them into East Berlin, and then they bussed them from East Berlin to the prison. The actual Russian guards were in the prison. All right, so I'm standing there. The Russians are getting off the bus. The snow's coming down. There's dignitaries standing around. The French general, the British general, the American general, and suddenly the Berlin Brigade commander, who's a 1-star, named Hayward, he notices that I'm vertically challenged. So he replaces me in the blink of an eye with his aide-de-camp, who's this tall, strapping West Point officer who was a friend of mine. So 1 minute I'm standing in front of the platoon, next minute I'm standing behind him. And the Russians are lining up, and there's handshakes and exchanges of whatever. And then, just as quickly, everybody's gone. And the snow's filling in the footprints of the people that were standing there. And we're marching into the prison. The Russians have marched out of the prison. We've marched into the prison.